Troopers, it is October 1st. We're hitting the winter time here at the Island Trooper 4x4 shop. Vancouver Island. It's not too cold, but it's getting chilly. And we're getting buried in BMWs around here. So, diligently working on the projects. Next up in line after the current project is this 92 Trooper over here. That's got the 3.2 double overhead cam, a Isuzu V6. That was one of the most powerful V6s they ever introduced until the 3.5, which was super problematic. That one's not a bad engine. It's got 190 horse stock, but 32 valve, double overhead cam. There's about 88 pieces in the top end head gasket kit. It's gonna be a bit of a project. And in front of that goddamn Jeep that we're doing an engine swap on, Jeep Compass constant velocity transmission that actually has an intercooler that hooks into the AC system and the coolant. Oh yeah, that Jeep is a pain in the ass. Plastic piece of shit. Don't ever buy a Compass or a Liberty. Anyways, today we just need to do a little getting around, and Goldie is sick. She's not happy. She's kind of pissed off. Got slave cylinder problems. Known it for days. Been just avoiding that crap. But Goldie's not having any more of this ignore me shit. Took him out 4x4 and got mud all over my beautiful engine. Got a few creaks and moans in the brake system. But look at this. I wanted to show you guys because I saw this slave cylinder. I was putting more .3 in there. And I took a look at it. And I thought, that is the worst fucking slave cylinder I've ever seen. You see it? That's my fucking slave cylinder. Look at the fucking tumor off the side of that thing. It's got elephantiasis of the nut sack. That's right. The right nut is fucking 10 times as big as the left nut. Something's wrong. Doc, can you give me a pill for that? Well, Doc says, your condition's pretty far gone. The symptoms have advanced so far, I think we're going to have to amputate that shit. Yeah, that is one fucking balloon boot. That's the boot off the end of the slave cylinder. And I like putting zap straps over the end of the boot so they can't break free. And what's happened is the boot has been ballooning, helping to keep somewhat of a few pounds of pressure on that slave cylinder, which is still giving me clutch action. It hasn't been shifting quite properly, but it's still been giving me clutch action for the last week or so while I've been really, really busy. Let's get underneath and have a look. Because it is bad. So the combination we're looking at here is a Forzetti 1 paired up with an MUA 5-speed. Look at that fucking thing. It's gonna blow. Shh, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the... Oh my God, it's really hard. It's really fucking hard. My slave cylinder's got a tumor. And yeah, I call it a slave cylinder. Okay, you can call it a clutch cylinder all you want. I know it's not politically correct to use the word slave, but you know, the worst slave owners in history were some of the Arabs, and there was lots of white people enslaved. I don't care what your fucking color is. You're a good dude or a bad dude. I'm not trying to use it in a racial way. It's a fucking slave cylinder because I hit the pedal and it does what I tell it. In this case, it's served too many tours of duty. It is bitched. So I hit the clutch pedal and it's just staying on the floor whether I got fluid in the reservoir or not. Lots of air bubbles trapped in the line, and it is fuckered. So we're going to swap it out just with a used one off of the old blue here. I do have a new one on order. It's scheduled to come in tomorrow. I can't wait. I can't wait till tomorrow because I need Goldie to perform today. That little white schmoo you see on the end there is just some lithium grease. I put that on the end of the pin and where it goes inside the clutch tongue fork. So we're just gonna go and extract the used one off of old blue here. And it don't matter to me because blue's got a different combination. Blue's got the GM V6. It also has the MUA transmission, but it has the MUA transmission for a V6. And so now that we're talking about this slave cylinder, now's a good time to talk about problems in pairing up power plants and transmissions on your first gen Trooper. Okay, so recently I met somebody who wanted to sell me the rustiest Trooper I've seen in a long time, and he had a bit of a problem in it. He had gone and bought a, what did he have in that? That was a 4-cylinder. And he had gone and purchased a 4-cylinder out of an S10 from an auto wrecker. And of course he went to install it, and he discovered that the starter motor was on the wrong side of the engine. So here we look on the 4ZE1, of course, and our starter is right down there, and the clutch sleeve is right below it. But if we go over here to Old Blue and we look at the GM V6, what we realize is that the starter is down here on the driver's side, and so is the slave cylinder. We're gonna have to extract that from down here on the opposite side. So if I had a Trooper that had a 4-cylinder in it, and I'd gone and replaced the 4-cylinder with one from an auto wrecker from an S10, and discovered that I had the starter on the wrong side, I wouldn't necessarily throw the baby out with bathwater. What I'd be doing is I'd be looking for a manual transmission from a 4-cylinder, whether it's MUA or an MSG, and your starter's going to be on the passenger side. Conversely, what you could do if you had a V6 is you could swap over a 4-cylinder transmission with the starter on the other side. So either way, you can manage to mix and match these transmissions. They're going to bolt up exactly the same. The MUA has these starters on either side. So if the starter's not on the side you want, go and get one from a 4-cylinder. Swap your transmission. Don't kill the truck. Don't scrap it. Anyways, back to the slave cylinder. What I'm going to do for this procedure is pretty simple. I'm just going to extract the .3 out of the reservoir, which I've already begun to do. And to do that, I like to use these big fuck-off syringes here. And I mean, you can go get yourself an evac pump. You go ahead, spend the 70 bucks, buy yourself an evacuation pump. That's cool. But I like these. They work really good, and they help me get all the crud out of the bottom of the reservoir. And this one definitely has some crud in it. So from there, then I'll just remove it, and I'll hook up myself a little bit of a line. I put the line in the bottom of the fluid so that air bubbles can't retract back up the line, and I just push the pedal by myself, or I'll have a friend push it for me while I'm cracking the bleeder nipple underneath. Don't be afraid to drain quite a bit of .3 through. You know, I'm getting .3, the Lucas brand .3 is like $8 a liter. Shit's cheap. I can get it even cheaper than that. So don't be afraid to use a little bit of extra dot fluid. It may feel like you're wasting it, but what you're doing is you're extracting all the air and all the crud. You get a lot of metal and rubber dust built up in there. That's where all the blackening's coming from, and residue from old .3. And what a lot of people don't understand about .3 is that it's pretty oddball chemical in the automotive shop. Okay, .3, if I haven't discussed this with you before, and I don't think I have, .3 is a hygroscopic chemical. So what that means is that the moment you crack the cap off of a bottle of .3 and you break the seal, this chemical is extracting moisture from the atmosphere directly. So that's why when you're doing a brake job on a vehicle that hasn't had the .3 flushed out in 3 to 5 years, you will literally come over and you will find a ball of water hanging out in the middle of the .3. Hygroscopic fluids extract moisture from the atmosphere immediately. So leaving this cap off for 5 minutes while you're working is not a good idea. It will extract moisture immediately. Once a bit of moisture is in there, then like attracts like. So molecules of water get inside and invade the .3, and then it's easier for more water to get in there. All brake fluid should be flushed once a year. That's just good safety. Hydroscopic fluids, as I mentioned, they extract the moisture out of the atmosphere. Water is virtually incompressible, which means that it's not going to work that good as a brake fluid. It also can't handle heat, so it'll create steam. It'll actually make the .3 go a little bit milky. All sorts of havoc. So yeah, interesting thing we learned today about .3 fluid being a hydroscopic chemical. I don't really have any other chemicals in the shop that do that, and that's why it's not a good idea to trust old .3. If you got an old bottle of .3 in your shelf, in your shop, and the lid has been cracked and the seal is off, well, it's pretty much garbage. And for the price of the shit, why would you try to hang on to it? Don't use old .3 to stop your vehicle. Other people's lives depend on that shit. You got kids in your vehicle? Get those brakes serviced. Might as well do the clutch slave cylinder while you're at it. Anyways, troopers, I need to get that slave cylinder out of there and on this old Goldie. We can get back on the road. Keep the rubber side down. Get that trooper back out there. Thanks for joining us. Oh yeah, just 'cause I never fucking say it. Why don't you hit the like button and maybe subscribe too? That'd be cool. Later.